Level of violence on the Cape Flats in the Western Cape has reached alarming levels in the last few weeks. Gun violence is a constant threat to life, and activists are calling for urgent intervention to bring an end to gang-related violence. Let's bring in Norman Jantjes, who's the CPF chairperson in Mitchell's Plain. Norman, let me thank you for your time and also thank you for your patience for us to begin this conversation. It's good to have you with us on the program. We've been talking for years now, Norman, about bringing some level of peace, bringing gun violence under control on the Cape Flats. It's 2025. We're having the same discussions still.
So Mitchell's Plain is one of the many areas in the Western Cape, or in Cape Town in particular, that is experiencing gun violence for many years now. You might just find a little lull in between the violence, but shooting, killings, murders is almost a daily occurrence for us. We've become used to it. It's like a normal situation. So it's high time that government intervenes in a more strategic, holistic, sustainable way. So you hear the calls from the community that they want the army. And we were always against the army because, I mean, we're supposed to live in a normal democracy where you don't really need the army internally, but rather to protect the borders. However, in our case, there's a degree of desperation in our communities. And because it's clear to us that the police is not doing a great job, because gang violence is still continuing, murders is still continuing. We also know that the police is under-resourced. So people, out of desperation, they're looking at other solutions. And the army is one of those when it comes to a law enforcement perspective. We also say that you cannot just deal with gang violence through policing alone. We need to have a holistic and a sustainable and integrated approach. So we've appealed to government to have a gang strategy for the Western Cape and in areas like Mitchell's Plain in particular, so that we can have law enforcement, there's the crime prevention, there's a gang intervention, and then there's also the community outreach side of it. So the four pillars needs to work in a holistic way, and it needs to be driven by government. So that for us is a plea to government for many years now. And we're going as far as saying maybe we need a commission of inquiry. I don't know whether you can remember, we had a commission inquiry for the violence in Khayelitsha a couple of years ago. So maybe it's our time so that we can holistically, we community and government and the private sector can look at the problems of gangsterism and see what solutions we can come up with. And this gang strategy must be owned by government and civil society as such. So that is where we stand at the moment. And then if you look at the areas such as Mitchell's Plain, we're about 1 million people, and we're totally under-resourced. 30 of our police vehicles is in the garage. I don't know whether you can remember last year, 15 firearms disappeared from the station. So, and we lost a lot of senior detectives. Mitchell's Plain lost those senior detectives. So now we've got relatively junior detectives that's overwhelmed with caseloads, and there's inadequate investigation. And that's quite evident when you look at the court. Many of our cases, gang-related cases, murders, double murders, possession of firearms, a lot of those cases are withdrawn because of poor detective work.
Norman, so do you mind if I come in there, because you've raised quite an important issue, the lack of detectives, the ever-increasing caseload sitting on the desks of detectives that are still in the force, and then the issue of gun violence. So we've talked about the gangsterism issue on the Cape Flats for many, many decades now, but do you find that perhaps over the past recent years that gun violence is on the increase in particular. I'm just thinking of reports in February of 17 people shot dead in the course of 24 hours over various areas in the Cape Flats. Is there an increase? And if so, to your knowledge, where are these guns coming from?
We don't know. We know that some of the firearms that you recover in your crime prevention work was actually a government issue guns, you know. So there's a lot of those, and of course there are organized groups that actually rents out their firearms. So there's a lot of arms floating around, and there's never a shortage. I think now recently we recovered about 6 firearms in a week in Mitchell's Plain, but it didn't really make a dent in the level of gun violence. So we've got this. I don't know where it comes from, but we've got many gangs or guns in our area, and youngsters are given guns to shoot for a fee, you know, and the fee is about 4,000 rand. That's what I heard from the streets, just to do one shooting. So yes, we can't say, and I think that's another indication of poor investigation and poor police work, because we should be able by now to ascertain exactly where those firearms come from. Yeah.
Certainly. I mean, what needs to change? Is it a policing issue that needs to change? You've talked about a commission of inquiry. That hasn't gotten us very far in the past in various instances. You might disagree with me, Norman. But what needs to change here so that, you know, children can go to school in safety, people can stand outside of their roads and outside of their homes without the fear of being caught in gang crossfire? How much longer can communities live in such fear?
Yeah, what we as a CPF now recently did, we had a dialogue, in fact in October, where we look at gangsterism. And we came up with some possible solutions, you know, but these solutions needs to be funded. We need to partner with government. Of course, civil society needs to play a pivotal role, but it must be driven by government and resourced by government. So I almost see there's a sense of hopelessness amongst the communities now, and you now see a resurgence of organizations, vigilante groups such as Pachat is seriously rearing its head, and the community is embracing it because it's out of desperation.
Certainly. Norman Jantjes, let me thank you for your time this afternoon. It's not going to be a conversation where we find any solutions to a decades-old challenge in various areas across our country, but particularly on the Cape Flats in the Western Cape.